Hello and welcome to BBC News. MPs in Cyprus have approved a number of measures designed to raise £5 billion needed to claim an EU bailout. Other proposals are still being debated, and it's thought that a controversial tax on large bank deposits could still be introduced. Eurozone finance ministers are expected to meet in Brussels on Sunday to discuss the crisis. Well, after the vote tonight, Cypriot MP Maria Kyriakou told the BBC that progress had been made, but that MPs were aiming to create a healthy environment for investment.
Well, we have passed 9 new bills that are structured, and they are aiming to create the legal framework so that we will create financial stability and restructure the banking system, or some banks restructure and rescue banks, and create credible bank out of the bank that is being restructured. And also at the same time to protect depositors. All the bills that have passed are aiming to creating a healthy environment for investment and continue to have this credibility that we used to have. And unfortunately, the last few years we had been facing serious problems due to our investment in Greece.
Cypriot MP Maria Kyriakou. Well, Andreas Theophanous, who's director of the Cyprus Centre for European Affairs, says MPs there have done all they could to prevent the crisis.
Certainly they have passed measures in an attempt to avoid bankruptcy and also try to create a new climate. On the one hand, there was a feeling that they had to pass these measures. On the other hand, there is some skepticism in the public opinion about the harshness and the day after. The perception is that these measures that had to go through were, on the one hand, given the circumstances necessary. On the other hand, if we take the overall picture, we feel that there could have been other ways so that they would have been less harsh.
We just heard one MP saying they want to create a healthy environment for investment. But how likely is it that many foreign concerns will want to invest in Cyprus at the moment?
This is a concern because if we take a bigger picture, is that in the last few days, the Cyprus system had been, seriously attacked with, raising the issue of confidence, given that in one way or another there would be a haircut in the deposit. So this, by definition, creates problems. But we feel that we will try to do the best given the circumstances.
What's the feeling in Cyprus about how the European Union is treating your country?
Okay, this is the gist of the question, because the perception in the public opinion is that there is a huge solidarity deficit, which is bigger than any public deficit, any fiscal deficit, or any public debt existing in any South European country. The feeling is that given the necessary amounts, the harshness of the measures is very high. We feel that if Cyprus had been given more time, we could avoid these severe measures. In the sense that, to use an expression used recently, given the fact that the country is in a recession, the measures by definition are creating a huge fiscal and financial cliff. And although there is willingness to try the best given the constraints, the feeling is that about the day after effects on the economic activity, there are growing fears for higher unemployment and how long this recession would last.
Andreas Theophanous speaking to us earlier. Well, our correspondent Andrew Walker is following events from Brussels, and he gave this analysis of the European reaction to the latest efforts of the government in Cyprus to deal with the crisis.
We're not going to get any kind of official reaction from the European Union until until the full package has been formally presented to them. But I think there are one or two things we could say are quite likely. One of the measures that they've agreed has been a new national solidarity fund. I think that the rest of the Eurozone are going to look very carefully at that. Already Chancellor Angela Merkel earlier in the day expressed some concerns about the possibility of it using pension fund assets. She was quite down about that possibility. And they'll also want to be very careful in assessing just how much it can contribute to the funds that Cyprus needs to get. There's another one of the bills was a restructuring of the banking sector. Again, they'll look at that very carefully, but that might be something that they would welcome. Certainly, some of the early suggestions coming from the International Monetary Fund did involve really very dramatic restructuring of the banks. And then I think also they'll want to see what's coming tomorrow, where one of the measures we are expecting to get is some sort of reversion to the much hated bank levy, no doubt quite different in form from what was originally proposed. But what Europe will want to see is to look at all these measures together and make a very cold, clear calculation of how much money they're going to generate. And if it comes close to that figure that Europe thinks is required, about €6 billion, then it might just pass.
We've been hearing just a few moments ago, though, from Cyprus, that the feeling amongst the public there is that they are being given a much tougher time than Greece was, which got a lot more latitude from people like Angela Merkel.
Well, I don't know if they see that things that way in Greece. I mean, Greece has been through a very tough programme of austerity in terms of the public spending and in terms of taxes. It is certainly true that what's different compared with all the other bailouts, I have to say, has been the idea that the banks have to be hit in quite the way that has been suggested in Cyprus. No other country has faced the prospect of a levy being imposed on bank deposits. No other country has faced the prospect of bank depositors, one way or another, losing their money. So certainly in that respect, it is significantly different.